Welcome to Bits About Books, the home for conversations with authors of breakthrough books on sales, marketing, and business. Founders, entrepreneurs, and individual professionals, we all need to keep track of ideas that are helping create our today and tomorrow. Bits About Books will strive to find those books and speak to their authors, go behind the scenes and understand what inspired the authors to write the books that they did and how they went about doing so. Through our conversations, we hope to gain insights that will help us to get the most out of our efforts. I'm your host Shubhanjan Sarkar, founder of PitchLink, the next generation buyer-seller engagement platform where our mission is to make buying easy. Welcome to Bits About Books. Thank you for your time and for joining us in this session. I have a favor to ask. While you continue to listen to the podcast, please leave a comment or rating at iTunes or wherever else you get your podcasts from. I personally look at each comment and will give you a shout out to each of you in our following episodes. It means a lot to hear from you. Today we have with us Brad Jeavons, Principal Consultant, SA Partners, and author of the bestseller Agile Sales, Delivering Customer Journeys of Value and Delight.
One of the main techniques of Agile, well, two techniques. One technique is form your team based on the customer, not based on internal wishes and wants and desires. So form your sales team and the skill set and capability based on your customer, not silos of your business and things like that. What that could look like is that you could end up with your technical experts part of the actual sales team, the engineers in the sales team, not separate. The other part of Agile is that make these teams autonomous, where you're developing their leadership capability and their capability to run scrums, their capability to do strategy, their capability to lead performance, their capability to coach and improve their language. An individual can be able to play that team leader role for a while and really focus on coaching and developing their peers. And then that can rotate. Another person can for the next quarter. And then you've also got another role, which is more of a strategic role, which is really looking at the data, engaging customers, thinking about that voice of customer, also engaging with senior leaders and getting feedback from them.
Brad Jeavons is an organization improvement leader whose purpose is creating a better future economically, socially, and environmentally for generations to come. Brad helps organizations directly define and achieve excellence journeys. He works with organizations across many differing fields: education, manufacturing, mining, agriculture, supply chain, technology, government, and health. Brad is an Agile Scrum at Scale practitioner and Lean Six Sigma Black Belt. He is an associate with SA Partners, the assessors for the Shingo model, the most prestigious business award for excellence in the Western world. Brad is the host of the Enterprise Excellence podcast and an award-winning author. His recent book, Agile Sales, Delivering Customer Journeys of Value and Delight, outlines how to apply Agile to sales and marketing to amplify customer experience and business performance. Now, on to this insightful episode with Brad Jeavons. Hello, Brad. Welcome to Bits About Books. Please do tell about yourself a bit for our viewers and about the book that you wrote.
Oh, thank you, Samajan. Well, my background is I grew up on a farm in inland Australia and got involved with sales a bit there. You know, you had to do everything as a farmer in Australia. And then I went to university. I was lucky to go to university and I studied international business, focused on Japan and learnt a lot about Toyota. Like I was basically focused on that. And then I thought, okay, I'll go into operations, but I ended up in a graduate position and they put me in sales. You know, one of these ones where they start to move you around a company, and sales just stuck with me. It was good. And had a great career selling for probably for 20 years really, because even when I became general manager of that organization, I was still out in the front line at times and spending time with customers and with my salespeople. And I then became a consultant in business improvement. Like when I got to that senior level, I was also managing operations, and I brought back the passions of what I learned from Toyota and different studies I've done. And I'm now a consultant and author, and I wrote the book Agile Sales. The reason I wrote the book Agile Sales is because most books in sales have been written about techniques and different selling approaches, where that's only part of the story. Like Agile Sales really goes into the cultural and the systems elements and the customer centricity and alignment elements that really I don't think many books have done in the past, and that's why I've done that.
From your point of view, Brad, for organizational success, how critical is agility of the whole team, including those in sales?
Well, in that, if you look at it, where you win or lose a sporting contest is on the grass, on the field, on the racetrack. Strategy can be formed and thought about in the office or up in the boardroom, but in a high performance team, that plan will always be brought to the players, and the players will sit there and look at the plan and look at the competition and be part of that game plan. And once they go on the field, the players are actually the ones who are adapting and tweaking and moving and adjusting to win the game. They're the ones who are standing behind the goal after just being scored against, going, whoa, we're down 2 points, 2 goals. What are we going to do? What are we going to adjust? The coach might be putting in a bit of advice through a runner coming out, but it's pretty well down to the players. And I think the same applies to achieving excellence in any organization. Whenever it's top down, you've only got so many minds and so many brains and so many eyes looking at what's going on. And they're very powerful. You know, these people in those top positions, they've got a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of skills. They can see all sorts of amazing things because they can look outside the company. But if you think of what a company where there is 4, 5, 10, maybe 20 people planning and thinking and adapting, versus if you could get a company where there's thousands or the full company sales team moving and adapting, but also the speed of adaptation becomes so fast when you have the frontline people who are really bought into the game plan and they know the football pitch they're playing on and they're sweating the goal, but they're also, if they're working as a team versus a bunch of individuals, I think there's been a fair few studies now done that show that even in sales, if you can get a team selling together and working together versus pure individual, you achieve so much more.
Right.
I think, so, John, when I was leading sales, I led a team of young graduates just out of university where I think it was about 5 of them in a team selling technology, factory automation equipment. They didn't have individual goals. They had a team budget. They had individual lead measures. So they all had lead measures that they sweated individually, but the goal was the team goal, you know, and their bonuses were paid based on the team goal. But please note their lead measures were their own. You know, when it talks to how many prospect calls, how many connect meetings, research meetings, presentations, and their close rates, that was their lead measures. But the results were a team. You know, they doubled in size year after year. And then later on, I took over a division where there was all existing individual bonuses and goals, and they're all highly trained technical engineering people. We did not achieve as much in that as what was achieved with that bunch of green, young 21-year-old graduates. And the culture was chalk and cheese. You know, you had people who didn't support each other and train each other and help each other in the engineering technical side. There was a lot of conflict. Whereas you turn it back to that young team, they backed each other and they were constantly learning, and they'd catch up outside of work and go to the pub or go fishing or do whatever. It's funny that the same thing that we talk about in sport, I've seen play out in good and bad in sales.
Interesting. So when you decided to write the book, what did you do next? How did you think of actually going about doing it?
Yeah, the first thing I did was I did some surveys and did some research out there in the market, voice the customer, practice what I preach. And then I got a lot of feedback on the main challenges that people are experiencing. And then what I did from that, and I should just explain, those challenges were, you know, where we've got a big sales force, we're hiring all these resources, we're spending a lot of money, but we're not seeing the return per head count. You know, a lot of companies were seeing that they had a lot of people, but they weren't actually selling more sales per person. It was sort of flatlining, if not going worse. And most of the feedback was, I need to get more out of my sales team in this environment. And so that was most of the voice of customer I was getting and achieve greater sales growth. And so then I thought, right, okay, well, I've got to write a book based on what I know and other studies have been done that go, right, well, here's how you can actually get more results per person and achieve greater outcomes for customers. And with that, I then formed up a wireframe I've got to admit, I just used Microsoft Excel and I just created a wireframe of main chapters, sub chapters, and then I also put case studies against each because I really feel like people love more of a story and they love getting real life case studies on each point. And just moved that around for about probably 2 months. Okay. And then went into writing the book. Now, one thing I did wrong with writing the book is I just went flat chat into it. I just went and wrote the book. Whereas I should have practiced what I preach a bit more there and took more of an iterative agile approach where, you know, I write a chapter, adjust it, tweak it, improve it, write the next chapter, adjust, or even the sub chapter. But I got to admit, I couldn't have written the book without my wife because she's the one who came in and really helped clean up the book and pull it together. Right. Which was the longest effort because I didn't practice what I preached through that section.
Interesting. I have a quick question about case studies. So are these case studies of ones you have seen yourself, or are these things that you researched and found?
No, ones I've been involved in myself.
Okay. So you knew what to fit in because you obviously had the flow in your head and you knew that these stories fit into these sort of segments. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And I've been lucky to work across a number of companies and probably had about 20 years in sales by that time. So there was plenty to go by.
Right. Absolutely. When you decided to write sort of open the book with understanding the customer, what did you feel was already not being discussed? And you still needed to talk about it at the beginning of the book, which was already not in the public discourse.
Yeah. So John, most companies spend a small fortune on hiring consultants to do voice of customer research. And then they get this report back on their desk that no one reads or a few people read, and then it collects dust. And really, I wanted to share that you can do this yourself. And it's most powerful when it's done by the sales team themselves. And I've done this with many companies now where we coach up the sales team and train the sales team rapidly to be able to understand some good techniques and truly understand the voice and also the emotional drivers of customers, sort of that conscious and unconscious drivers, and then go out there and do this research as part of their normal day-to-day job. And the funny thing is that customers love it. Like customers, when they get their account manager or their salesperson coming in and they're sitting down going, look, we're really looking to truly understand our customers. We want to understand you, and then we want to take that back and we want to look at what we can do better to take this to a whole new level for you. Boy, that's a high value add sales call. And so that's what I look to bring in differently there and hopefully save some companies a lot of money in the process at the same time. Because the thing is, when the sales team are involved in doing it, they hear the feedback from the customer themselves, not the consultant. They see it, smell it, touch it. They know what's going on. So instantly out of this event, the sales team have new insights. They're doing things differently because they were the ones that were involved in it. And I don't think the company loses any sales through the process. I think they actually gain more because most companies go, wow, that was a great sales call. These guys truly want to understand us, and you get good outcomes.
Right. Just to be clear, these were existing customers they were going out and talking with, and not prospective customers they were trying to understand if they're bringing something new to the market and so on.
No, both. It can be done in both avenues. So existing customers, or if you've strategically got some insight that this market could be massive for us and these personas. So I draw in the concept out of Agile, which is the persona concept, which are really just the personalities of the decision makers we can be most successful with. And I give techniques in there too for us to go do that prospective new market analysis too. But there's no better door opening technique than this. So it's actually an amazing prospecting strategy. Right. Because you can call up this prospect and go, hey, Mr. Prospect, I'm from XYZ company. We're really looking to understand your market. We think we may have something that will go really well. It's not there at the moment, but I just love a few minutes just to truly understand you and your business, so that then I can see what we can do. And hey, if there's something that comes from this in the future, I'll be sure to let you know. Right. That's a pretty abundant approach to take.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree, because we talk about building trust, we talk about building relationships, and most of the time we are going to that into that conversation with some agenda, which is to somehow ensure that you give me some money to buy my stuff, right?
Yeah.
So that's the agenda. This completely changes the game, because here the agenda is I want to understand you and I have no other agenda.
No, because I don't even have the strategy or the product built yet.
Right.
We just want to understand. Yeah. So it's coming from a point of truth.
So moving on to the agile sales concept, the Hoshin Kanri bit. Let's unpack that a little more. How did you thought of that as the second step to be introduced, and how did you sort of link the concepts and present it?
Yeah. So again, originally it came from my early experience with these high performance young teams that I worked with, where I had them involved in strategy and they were involved in everything we did, and they helped me adapt the top line plan and the leaders above me, but they also then formed their own plan. We achieved amazing things. And then I saw the reverse when we bought a company, and I saw a company where the salespeople were just told what to do, given their budget and, told we need to hit this figures and off you go and go do it. And I saw the results that came from that. And then through getting involved again in operational excellence and lean and agile, I learned about big room planning and Hoshin Kanri strategy deployment, and how big companies can take a really abundant, empowering approach to forming strategy, but then also help other people form their plan that links to it. I sort of use the analogy of sport again. It'd be like, Manchester United. The board and the head managers and coaches, they've got a game plan for the year, and they've got this theory of what they could do, and they know the goal they want to achieve. They might want to win the cup, and then they form some strategies and pull in some players and their technique. But then what they do is they don't just leave it at that. They then pull the players together and they go, okay, players, here's what we're thinking. What do you think? And that one of the players goes, oh, this player's just gone to that team and there's this happening in the market and we got to be careful. Oh, okay, tweak. And then once that's locked in, or 70, 80% there, the board then go to the players, okay, guys, here we are. This is a plan. Okay, what's your plan? What are we going to do? What are we going to do come during the week? What are we going to do come game time? And we start to help them form up their field of play, their goals that align to that top line plan, both as a team but also individually. And you're helping empower the front line, and you're creating leaders within your front line. And I think that's powerful. Whereas traditionally, a lot of organizations can look at their frontline salespeople as just being salespeople. But I'd pose that most of them could be turned into leaders by this Hoshin Kanri technique, coupled with some really good leadership approaches.
This is very, very, very important point, Brad. And the reason is, one of the biggest gripes is that you take a great sales guy, make him a sales manager and ruin it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you hear it from person after person, from leader after leader, that this guy was like a stellar. He was making 120% quota. He was crushing it. And we thought we should promote him and make him a leader, and gone.
Yeah.
Right? And what you are possibly suggesting is a counter idea to actually not let that happen, but actually groom this guy and build up the leadership capabilities in him. I mean, it may not work for 20%, but if 80% also can happen, then you have a really long-term strategy going.
You do.
It's time for a short break. I asked Brad how our system of promoting great salespersons into leadership role without grooming has proved to be disastrous, and how organizations can potentially sidestep that pitfall. As we come back, we will have Brad explaining how he thinks the Agile approach may have a solution. Stay with us.
You are listening to a Business Podcast Network original. Podcasting is the fastest growing content marketing opportunity, which is untapped. We can help you craft your audio strategy and help leverage the wide reach and easy streaming capability that the smartphone penetration provides. It is easy, it is powerful and personal. Talk to us to find out how podcasting can help you build your brand and reach out to your targets like never before. Write to us at bpn@bizcast.in. That is bpn@bizcast.in. Business Podcast Network. Podcasts end to end.
Welcome back. I'm Shubhanjan Sarkar, your host for Bits About Books and founder of Pitchlink, the buyer-seller engagement platform. Pitchlink is a new generation remote selling tool that takes out friction in the communication and conversation process between the seller and the buyer, making it easy to focus on the problem both are trying to solve. Over 400 companies in 32 countries use Pitchlink to buy and sell better. Check out the platform for free at https://pitch.link. Back to Brad Jeavons, our guest today. As we went into the break, I asked Brad how we can build more agile teams that take into account the need to build leadership capabilities in the existing teams. Let's listen in.
One of the main techniques of Agile, well, two techniques. One technique is form your team based on the customer, not based on internal wishes and wants and desires. So form your sales team and the skill set and capability based on your customer, not silos of your business and things like that. What that could look like is that you could end up with your technical experts part of the actual sales team, the engineers in the sales team, not separate. But the next part I wanted to say is that the other part of Agile is that make these teams autonomous, where you're developing their leadership capability and their capability to run scrums, their capability to do strategy, their capability to lead performance, their capability to coach and improve their language. And people within that team get to play different roles. Like there's two roles in Agile. One is what's called the Scrum Master, which you don't have to use this language, right? Please note, you don't have to use this language. But an individual can be able to play that team leader role for a while and really focus on coaching and developing their peers. And then that can rotate. Another person can for the next quarter. And then you've also got another role, which is more of a strategic role, which is really looking at the data, engaging customers, thinking about that voice of customer, also engaging with senior leaders and getting feedback from them. It's called the product owner in Agile. But again, this role can be played by a team member. It doesn't mean that the Scrum Master and product owner are not leaders or bosses. They're like subservient leadership. And you can, again, over time, rotate that and skill people up. So you're basically creating leaders in high performance frontline teams right from the get-go. One of the best examples of this is the way that the SAS and Special Forces run. There's so much crossover between the way that they run and the way that Agile operates. And I'd say that the Agile network probably took a lot of knowledge from the way that those teams work.
I'm sure. And just to make a point here that I have seen this kind of application in large IT companies because they understood Agile and then they actually applied it across the organization. So they rotated people and actually let most people grow into areas of their discomfort or whatever you call it. But I think the non-IT companies, the manufacturing, the logistics and so on and so forth, they are still not getting that the way they should.
Yeah, so I've got my next book will probably be on Agile and operations. We've just had a big manufacturing site in Australia survive, it was set for shutdown. And one of the elements that helped that site was actually deploying an Agile approach. You know, I'd heard when I first went in there that we haven't changed in 40 years. And then 3 months later, they'd knocked out so many changes and helped the regulator and also helped get gains performance-wise.
Right.
That it played a part in the site surviving. So it's because it really, Joe, if you talk IT or you talk factories or you talk sales teams or you talk HR departments or anything, there's a common denominator in there is that they're full of humans.
Yeah.
And I think at a baseline, there's ways that humans like to operate. And I don't think it's really that much difference from an IT department to a sales department to a manufacturing department.
Yeah.
You know, we all want something to believe in. We all want a purpose and something to drive forward. We don't want to feel suppressed. We don't want to feel like we're pigeonholed. We want to have autonomy. We want to be able to make a difference. All of us want to achieve a result or goals in some way or another. Right. And that's why I think this philosophy or this approach really works everywhere. It's just that some fields have just not got to it yet or in a big way.
True. Let's jump to your 7th chapter, which is the sales process aligned to your customer's buying journey. And that's a favorite topic of mine. But I'll let you go. So let's talk about it a bit.
So, John, the other thing you mentioned earlier how applying Agile to a sales team could be quite dramatic and quite different. And, I mentioned in those first few chapters, it's how you go about it that counts. And this chapter is one of the most important ones because, when you've got sales teams in different states, different countries, different cultures, does the same sales process work in every country, in every division, or exactly for every team? The one important thing I'd say is it needs to be aligned to what your customer's buying journey is. What do they want? And what's their needs and desires for that sales journey? And so that's why I use a technique called customer journey mapping. It comes out of Agile. I got trained on it by one of the ex-marketing managers of Microsoft Europe. And it's just an amazing technique that, again, you can get the team together and actually use that data you've gained from the voice of customer analysis and all the first few chapters of the book. And then you can sit there and go, okay, guys, let's put ourselves in this customer's shoes. And I talk about a technique called customer empathy mapping or persona empathy mapping. And it allows the team to really embed themselves in the customer's shoes. And then they can map what journey would this customer want to go through. Let's take a fresh wall, or you can do it on a computer too. There's a program called Lucidchart. It has a customer journey mapping template. It's really good. And you can basically map from discovery, which discovery is where your ideal customer doesn't know you, doesn't know your business, but you're putting yourself in their shoes and you're going, if I was that customer, how would I want to discover my own company? What would be an abundant way that we could connect with them that would help them discover us and the value we've got to add and how it could help them, but in a way of abundance and high value add? And that's the first part. So, John, if you think about it, cold calling is not dead, right? But I think there's a lot you can do before you have to cold call to be able to engage with a customer in an abundant, high value add way versus a position of desperation. Because we all are biased to rapidly judging people and, placing them. And so this discovery phase is really important. And there's a whole heap in the book on that. And then it goes to research. Once you've triggered your interest with a company, you want to research. And so the sales team and people in the company can look at, wow, what sort of research journey would they want to go through? And how would they want to research? And how should we improve there? And then it goes to purchase. How would they typically want to purchase? How do we make that so smooth and easy and simple for them to just buy, or even take the assumptive buy path, which we experience in a lot of apps nowadays? And then it goes to delivery. And then it also finally goes to a step called devotion. Devotion is about how do we get this customer to a place with our brand and ourselves where they would never buy anywhere else. They are so devoted to our brand. Now, the power of this technique is that, again, you can form the sales team up or a team of cross-functional team members to figure out that journey themselves and actually facilitate them coming up with their own marketing, both from branding or awareness through to lead generation, through to the sales process. And also you can involve operational people to think, how can we simplify the whole credit application process, the whole purchase process, the whole delivery process to just make it so smooth and fast? So it is a really great sales technique to build your marketing approach and also your sales approach. But it's also a very good technique to help other parts of the organization improve what they do to create greater flow and delight and value for customers. So, and I do talk about that in the book. Like, it's predominantly focused on how to amplify sales and marketing and value and delight for customers and help the team come up with their own approach. But it's also very powerful with back office and internal functions to help get better outcomes there. And this technique also allows you to cover for different cultures and different teams and different zones, because if each country of your company is looking at this and analyzing for your country, you're going to end up with the right sales process. You're going to end up with the right marketing approach because it's being tailored to that customer and that culture that you're selling into. Whereas when a company just goes carte blanche, here's our sales process, we're going to roll out this, you must do this, you get most countries going, that won't work here, or that's terrible, or that's, what are you talking about? Whereas when you involve people, one, you get better uptake. Two, they see that you're actually helping them by overcoming challenges and giving them more insights, and they're coming up with themselves. And you do get a better process out of it all, which people start using instantly.
Right.
And that's basically what I write about there.
what kind of role do you see technology playing in the implementation of this playbook?
So the way that I often talk, John, is I always talk people, process, technology. So I would say get the book and look at the people side of things. How do we engage our people and get them on this journey and really get them involved? Look at the process then. Do the strategy deployment. Engage them in those rapid, fast meetings that are really goal-focused and measure and performance-focused rather than the 2-hour sit down listening to people talk about their opportunities, and work your way through the steps. Build your sales process. And then look at technology as an enabler. How does technology bolt into our sales process and enable us to do value-adding, amazing, delighting things during that journey? How does technology help customers discover us more effectively? How does technology help process flow better and things run more smoothly? How does technology help me keep my finger on the pulse with voice of customer? That's what I'd say. I'd always go through people, process, and then technology.
Sure. And is there any specific tools that you have in mind when implementing any of this?
Yeah, I think the main tool, great processing tools and techniques in Lucidchart. The old humble post-it note does an amazing job. The other tools that are amazing there, of course, is getting the right CRM. But I've seen so many CRMs rolled out where they get shoved down the throats of salespeople and no one uses it. Whereas if you do it off the back of customer journey mapping, when the teams looked at their challenges and what they need to do and come up their sales process, always out comes a CRM need or lead generation technology or whatever it may be. But I tell you, it's a different result when it comes after the sales team's been through customer journey mapping and done their own analysis versus just going, right, we're going to deploy a CRM. Right, we're going to deploy this. Salespeople, you must use this. It's
Sure.
I've seen teams pushing and pulling and saying we need a CRM versus teams going, where they're not involved in journey mapping and actually on the journey of it, rebucking it.
Right. If there is a few takeaways, I hate to ask the question, what is a single takeaway you want readers to have out of this book? So I'll say, if you want them to take away a few thoughts after they have finished reading this book, what would they be?
I think the main takeaway would be getting this bottom-up approach going where thinking about how do we create leaders of leaders? How do we create focused, high-performance leaders at our front line who are leading forward amazing outcomes for our customers and our business? That's the main thing. And then really look to the world's best practices. This has been done and amazing, insane outcomes have been achieved. And that's why I have applied agile techniques to this because, there's been no bigger results than what you've seen come out of the IT world in the last 20 years. And they're humans. And the same's happening with sales teams that are taking this up.
Bits About Books is brought to you by PitchLink, the buyer-seller engagement platform. PitchLink makes buying easy by enabling high-quality engagement between buyers and sellers through its presentation and discussion modules. Sellers create customized sales narratives using sales collaterals and personal videos and reach out to prospects through a non-intrusive, buyer-qualified engagement. PitchLink requires no installation or download and holds the entire repository of sales collaterals and buyer-seller conversations. Talk to us to know more about how you can engage with customers without intrusion. Call us on 99021 631 32.
Well, Brad, this was a delightful conversation. I learned a lot. I have been speaking to a lot of authors who have written great books, no doubt. But this was a pleasant departure from the normal conversations I have. And obviously, I was not comfortable with the topic because it looked too alien to me, as I had told you earlier. But I think I have a much better understanding, and I'm really looking forward to reading this one.
Thanks, John. Thank you so much for your time and for your great questions. It was a really good conversation.
Thank you very much. We have a fantastic lineup over the next couple of episodes with great conversations on breakthrough books with Peter Kohan, Park Howell, Shakti Likha, Julie Hansen, Tony Hughes, Andrea Waltz, and Lee Sells about wonderful books they have written. Subscribe in your favorite podcast app so you do not miss a single episode. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for being with us today on Bits About Books, where we talk to authors about breakthrough books on sales, marketing, and business. We hope this conversation helped inform and motivate as we all navigate a rapidly changing business environment. For us, these are enlightening conversations enriched with knowledge and expertise. We encourage you to go out and buy the book to learn firsthand and implement some of the great ideas we discussed today. We hope to have you with us again in the next exciting episode of Bits About Books. If you liked what you heard, subscribe to the show in your favorite podcast platforms like iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, or wherever else you get your podcast from, and give us a rating while you are at it.
This Bizcast original podcast is produced for PitchLink, the next generation buyer-seller engagement platform, where the mission is to make buying easy. Hosted by Subhanjan Sarkar and produced by Rajiv Aditya. See you next time and have a wonderful day.